After fulfilling our short-term and medium-term targets on Bitcoin, the real question is, as Bitcoin approaches prior all-time highs, where does this all end? With that said, welcome back to EllioTrades channel. I'm your host Krown again today, coming at you from a slightly different location. If you can't tell, I am looking white like a ghost, and that's because I'm in a very poorly lit but very nice place called Armani Hotel in Dubai. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I'm certainly enjoying my time here, if I can speak properly as well. So unfortunately, during this time while I'm here, the videos will be, of this quality, but I do have some perhaps information that might just make up for that today. So with that in mind, I want to bring you over to something that I think most people are familiar with, and that is PlanB's whole analysis of Bitcoin's relative strength index, the good old RSI. Now, I'm sure many people are familiar with this as they are with his long-term targets, and I don't believe that there's any real value in just repeating or quoting, other people's analysis. It's a similar thing to like just going on Instagram and reposting quotes. Funny business, but we can expand on this, which is why I want to do this video today. We will also go over some of the short-term and medium-term price action for Bitcoin as we follow up on that. So without further ado, let's bring you over here to the PlanB's relative strength index chart. So I'm sure everyone's familiar with this. And as you'll notice right here, this is a weekly RSI. Nothing complicated about that. However, what you'll notice is that Bitcoin in past prior markets, all bull markets actually, has reached at minimum, I repeat, 90 on the RSI. So with that said, the real question is, what does that actually mean for price? Of course, just looking at this right here, red dots, yellow dots, green dots look cool, but without numbers, it isn't all that tangible. So you know what? We can actually do that. So this is what I like to do today in expanding upon this analysis. So into the good old charts we go. Here we have what I'm going to refer to as the advanced RSI from my good friend, Mr. KVBD. Kevin, he's an amazing man out there. And what I've done here is I've highlighted all of the areas where Bitcoin has reached a 90 minimum RSI on the weekly chart throughout the history of Bitcoin. You'll actually even notice that we go a little bit further back than PlanB here. Not that, I'm trying to disparage the work that he's done. I have a humongous amount of respect for what he's done. He is incredible, and he actually does come at things from a unique and creative angle, which I respect a lot. So I want to be very clear about that. Anyways, what we'll do now is we'll bring up this pane over here with the RSI. Slightly different look on it, as you can see, but again, these are all correlated with the vertical lines. So chart of the day analysis, as you might want to be aware, for the long term. Again, I should reiterate, this is not necessarily happening today or tomorrow, probably not even this month or next month, probably not even December if I had to guess as well. But you will notice that we can actually forecast what price would need to be at in order to create a 90 read on the weekly RSI, and that is denoted by this number right here. In fact, a 90 read would give us a ripe old price of $172,903.61, by the way, on the Bitcoin index chart at current levels. With that in mind, you'll notice on this chart, several of those iterations were actually not just ending at a 90 read. You'll actually notice, if we were to put a nice horizontal bar right here, which we can certainly do, most of these came up around 94. So I would go as far as saying that at minimum, we have seen a 90. Yes, that's actually where the 2017-2018 cycle ended. But let's just play around with numbers here and see what a 94.5 read would bring us towards, as we can certainly do such things. And we will do that this way right now in front of your very face, if you happen to be interested. And let's see, where are my levels? Alrighty, and here we go. Whoops, not that one. And it is going to be this one right here. We will do 94.5 and show it to me. A number I am not comfortable with saying out loud, but you can read it right here, and I will say it actually, just for anyone who's listening. I pause. 302, 392, spot 45. $302,392 and about 20 cents or so. With that said, a very impressive number. So we can come up with a bit of a range. Obviously, in these more exuberant parabolic rallies, things do get absolutely crazy, of course. I'm sure anyone who's been here throughout the history of Bitcoin, even just 4 years ago, knows this to be true innately. And we can say that somewhere between that 170 or so thousand number and 302,000 number would be about where we're looking at if we are going to run with that assumption. So we are making an assumption here that Bitcoin will once again get to a 90 plus RSI read by the end of this cycle. Now, I want to take this one step further. Again, there is absolutely no value in just reiterating prior analysis. And what do we have right here at the top end? My favorite volatility indicator, and that would be the BBWP again. I've explained this before, however, we'll do a brief explanation yet again. And what is BBWP? It is a volatility indicator based off of the Bollinger Band width, and then we've just ranked them in a statistical format called percentile. And we can see anytime that Bitcoin on the weekly BBWP gets to actually just around about 95 percentile or more, those are typically around the end or at the very minimum a long form consolidation for Bitcoin throughout the history of time. Unfortunately for this, we do not have a way to do a reverse function on this, at least not to my knowledge. However, something to be aware of is that BBWP, currently speaking, is at a 38.41 percentile, actually 38.49 percentile read. So you could imagine that theoretically we have a little bit more time within this market. Very interesting stuff, and I hope that you find that well. Now, what we'll do over here, as I just make sure that I'm recording, is we can briefly go over Bitcoin short-term action, as we did hit our 62 and, or actually, I think it was 62 and then $64,000 price targets. I think we're about en route to that right now, which we can follow up over here, of course. And more importantly, as we did identify on the prior video, I believe it was, the weekly Bollinger Band condition that we were looking for has been met. So I am still looking for continuation of this rally to the 1.618 Fibonacci extension. Also the measured move off of the inverted head or the regular head and shoulders failure pattern over here, just below $69,000. With that said, of course, we can have short-term pullbacks, absolutely. And as always, there will be invalidation points as well. Nothing is 100% guaranteed, which is why we must come up with areas that tell us that that is not going to be the most likely thing to happen the soonest. And where would that be now? Well, your first major warning point is going to be below this spike low right here, as that is just right around our $59,000, right there in the blue box. Now, Bitcoin does start to violate this area yet again, just by coming back down there, and especially if we close a 4-hour candlestick below there, I would be looking for Bitcoin to come back down to the prior base. Again, I would not say that that would necessarily mean that the run is over or anything like that. We are expecting at some point again, that Bitcoin on the daily will plop back down and set in a higher low, as all higher term timeframes do have a trend to the upside and are looking very, very good on the higher term timeframes. But keep in mind, because Bitcoin has gone up in a pretty much unabated run from 40,000 to the ripe old price of just about 63,000 bucks, that would imply we could come down quite significantly. Namely, the $55,000 to $54,500 region would be a certain area of interest for myself. If that area were to fail, then I would be looking still around that just about $50,000 number. Of course, until Bitcoin actually does violate on the lower term timeframes that last spike low, again just below $59,000 from the 17th of October, I would not necessarily be looking for a pullback on the daily first before continuation to those upside targets. And short term, of course, we are still en route to that $64,000 region or so. So with that in mind, I won't go too low of time frame right here, as I do want this video to stand for a little bit of time. And with that said, again, I want to say a massive thank you for the comments on these videos. They've been really encouraging. They've been very helpful, and I very much appreciate that. I want to say massive love as well, because there's been a lot shared. And with that in mind, I want to wish you well. I want to wish you the best of the best, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.